lot of stuff to cover in today's video, from first of all Miller coming to the stand as always, this time with not just information regarding Black Panther, but information regarding bosses coming in the future for this game. And then, well, I want to touch up on a lot of controversy going on in the comments of the last video, which was where the devs addressed the Spider-Man DLC situation. So if you haven't seen that, go ahead and check it out. But there's a lot of, I guess, comments, right, essentially stating that I genuinely can't see this game going for the next 2 years. Now, this is a question, so leave your answers below. Can you see yourself still playing Marvel's Avengers in the next 2 years? And if it's a no, what would need to be implemented in the game to actually keep you still interested by that time? Be brutally honest, let me know in the comments below, drop a like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's jump right into this big info, because when Miller comes to the stand, it is always interesting. So I want to start off with essentially just reading out what he says. Now, it's a two-part thing, and then there's some information on War Machine, because, well, it seems like essentially he's been stopped. So the first statement is, the only upcoming bosses that I've observed progress on post-launch are Claw and Ultron. However, Red Hulk exists but hasn't been touched in ages. He may have been abandoned like War Machine, though I suspect aspects of him live on in Fire Adaptoids and, of course, Abomination. Now, then he done the second part to this, saying some misc notes, which are Kree-Bost, which is test data from prototyping, then Deathlock, which is misinterpreted War Machine data, then you have Frostbite, Frenzy, Vindictator, Ghost, and how they're essentially similar misinterpreted misc data, and then it says nothing additional regarding Loki in the data, but he's in merch and clearly teased. That's something I know is a very grey area at this moment in time. There's a lot of, I guess, theories going around on that specifically, but what the interesting part here was regarding this is that he stated War Machine is essentially abandoned, right, when he says Red Hulk hasn't been touched in ages, just like they abandoned War Machine. Now, this is a crucial thing, because when it comes down to, I mean, loads of different things in this game, we need more variety, right, and when it comes down to bosses, etc., I mean, all these things are absolutely vital. Now, somebody did actually say, when you say it's been abandoned like War Machine, as in, do you mean like they are no longer making him a character? If you have addressed this before, then I missed it. Then Miller responded to that by saying, War Machine does exist within the public client in an unfinished prototypical state. I suspect that he will be revisited at a certain point, brackets, especially with development resources being so valuable, but I have yet to observe progress in that direction. Now, I know this is a lot of people talking. When it comes down to War Machine, I mean, it's one of those situations where you can genuinely say that if it was somebody that was abandoned, then that's just an absolutely crazy move to pull on the dev's end. It just wouldn't make sense for that to be a scenario, but then you also need to tie it into the game as to, well, when would be a good time to actually add this character in. So I guess there's loads of different routes, or whatever you want to call them, paths I guess you could say, where the devs for the game can go down to really squeeze this character in a place where it just completely makes sense. What the time frame for that is going to be, well, I don't actually know, but this is what I want to talk about on the second half of this video, because in the video that I made the other day, which was where the devs speak on the Spider-Man DLC, if you haven't seen that video, go ahead, check it out, the link will be in the description below. But in the comments of that video, there was some really interesting statements. So first of all, one that I completely agreed with, where Aaron actually stated the gap between new heroes is scary. Can you imagine the gap between Black Panther and Spidey? Now, this is a vital part, because other comments essentially similar around that sort of topic was saying they need to release more characters frequently, especially when you can beat Hawkeye in one day, and story mode is where it's at for me. So that was another comment by a dude who goes by the name Frank. Now, just using these two things, and it kind of, I guess, links to why I asked that question at the start of the video as to, hey, can you see yourself playing this game in the next 2 years? Be completely realistic. Now, when it comes down to the additional characters, I do think we're in a situation where Either way, if this game was to kind of go completely dry, let's say no content was done between now all the way to Black Panther's DLC, which is not going to be the case by the way, but let's just imagine that scenario. I think where it's Marvel characters, where they're absolutely huge characters like Black Panther, like Spider-Man, it's one of those things where people are just prone to still go ahead, pick up the game if they already own it, to just go ahead and test out that character. And I genuinely think that's the scenario that would actually work in some sort of way, which is not the good way to work, because you have people like all of us, if you're watching this video right now, that do want more content in general. Now, I don't want to be one of those people where it's like we're requesting all this stuff and it's like they give us some of it and you're still top of, I guess, complaining, right? That's definitely not the situation. But we kind of gathered that Spider-Man can't come out this year, because if Black Panther is towards the end of the roster, if that roster is going in order, which is probably an important thing to take into consideration, which technically I'd imagine it would be, but on the summer section we know Black Panther's towards the end. Now, it would only make sense for that to be basically around a year since the game, I guess, was released, right? So we're talking closer to like that September, October mark. Possibly November, that would be absolutely insane. But if that's the case, we then know that, well, we've just got 2 heroes technically for this year. Are they moving in a situation where it's only 2 heroes per year, and could that work? I do think it could work. I know a lot of people are going to hate me when I say this, but I do think it could work, because I don't think the heroes are the problem, which is, like I said a couple of seconds ago, I think you'd still go ahead and pick up the game anyway. I think what is vital is the content between those characters, i.e. if you have all the Marvel characters added into the game right now, just imagine, right now, you can go ahead and load up the game, but you just have everything in place right now, it's going to be boring. Well, let's be honest. So, I don't think it comes down to like the character situation. I think it comes down to the variety of game modes in Marvel's Avengers. It's a no-brainer. I think if it's not, what I should probably say, which would make more sense, I'd like to think, is I'd rather the 2 characters per year, but they add loads of different types of game modes and content, I guess, when it comes down to maps and so forth over that year, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think of like another way to really break that down, but to really keep it simple, that's what I'm thinking of. That's what would make more sense to me. We've already got like the custom armors, for example. That's fun, it's unique, you can have a blast with that. But other things could be like customization when it comes down to the characters, or we already know you can go ahead and play with your buddies all as the same Marvel hero. That's a big thing. People, well, some people didn't like it, some people do. It's whatever floats your boat, I guess, right? But it's a scenario where you like it or you don't, but it doesn't really matter. It's content being added into the game. That doesn't necessarily matter which hero you have. As long as that specific piece of content can be fun, then that's what's vital. That's my opinion. Believe your thoughts on it in the comments below. Personally, I don't want 2 characters a year. I'd like there to be more, but being realistic, it could work. But guys, I'm going to see you in the next one. Till then, have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day. Leave your thoughts below. And until the next one, adios amigos.